Did you just get hired on to Walmart distribution center as an order picker? Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I was doing for a while. And here is my experience of how that went. So, I applied on Indeed, got the job offer through an email. I started 3 weeks after I received that job offer through email. The first week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, was a job like class like setting where you're basically in a classroom watching videos every single day, doing these follow along worksheets. And they were, which also had like assessments to them, which was very, what's that word I'm looking for? Very thorough because you couldn't miss more than 2 questions on these worksheets. Otherwise, you'd have to watch the video all over again and do the test or the assessment sheets all over again. Um, yeah, it was very, very tedious, very, very tedious. These videos, um, and then the Thursday of that week. So yeah, those first couple days is called onboarding, where you're like getting familiarized with all like the safety regulations, how to drive your machinery through watching a video, and then just what to expect on the job, I guess. And then on the Thursday of that week, they took us out onto the floor. We got to get familiarized with our headset, which is basically like you're wearing something. It's like it has like a strap. Like it comes, this little speaker thing comes out that you speak into, and a little like Talkman corresponds with that, which is now, well, it's called a Lydia. They just recently changed their system. It's called a Lydia, and she's basically like your boss. She's like the one telling you like what to pick and what aisle and the quantity and whatnot. So, anyways, they show you how to get familiarized with that, and then you get to learn how to drive these vessels. I would call them vessels. I never really knew what they were, like the legit name of them were. If it was a 4500 or a CR, I would call them vessels. Like here I am riding my vessel. Anyways, it had like this like handle thing, which was that came out like this, and this is how you would basically control it. And then down here it had like for you to honk, and you're always honking. That's one of like the number one things that they're always very cautious about. All the time when you're driving, be aware of your surroundings. Always honking. That way someone knows where you're coming from at all times. Yeah, so I was super nervous as far as like driving these things because although I have like my past work experience has been warehouse, I've never driven like this type of machinery before. So I was really nervous, but it's actually quite simple once you get the hang of it. It's not difficult at all. They did do like an evaluation on us. Excuse me. Basically, we had to show them that we knew how to like operate the forks, like how to pick them up, how to rise them up and put them down, and then how to like pick up 2 pallets on the floors with your forks, and then just drive them around correctly within the aisles. And you had to like you were supposed to pass that evaluation because if you failed, I guess you had to do it again. But thankfully, I passed. Anyway, so then the next day, which I believe it was a Friday, is when you have a one-on-one trainer with you actually out on the floor, and they're basically teaching you how to like stack things, like how you're supposed to be stacking things in the pallet. When you grab something, not to take too much time continuing to touch it, just like once you place it, you forget it, and move on to the next one. And just how to like be efficient, um, and not spend too much time trying to like reorganize things. So the first time going into the dairy deli, which is the area that I worked in, it was flipping cold. It's really cold, and I already knew that just because when I got a walkthrough of the job, like I was like, "Dang, this is pretty cold." But in actuality, once you're working, you do start to like get hot, and warm. So I wouldn't wear the bibs that they would give you. I would just wear like my leggings and then like a long sleeve and then like a sweater on top and then a hat on. That's all I would wear. Some people would wear the bibs. Other people would wear shorts and like short sleeves in there, even though it was really cold. Just because their mentality was like, well, if I'm staying busy at all times, I shouldn't be cold. Which, in theory, I guess it's like, okay, that's cool. But there's sometimes when like you're at a standstill because these aisles get really crowded, where like you do start to get cold. And my hands, even though I was wearing gloves, like they would be super, 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 super cold. Anyways, so that Monday through Friday, I'd have the trainer with me all day. He was teaching me how to like stack things. I think it was Thursday and Friday or just Friday. don't remember. Anyways, on the weekend though was basically when I was gonna be on my own. Let me tell you guys about my first day on my own. So you get there, you okay, this is important. When you get there and you pick out your machinery, you always want to make sure that you have that little like I would call it a wand, but it was basically like it was like a metal type stick, and it had like this thing that stuck out like that basically. And the purpose of that was for whenever you're picking from slots that are up high, that would come in handy because you would use that to like stab something and bring it closer to you, you know? And then you'd always want to make sure to have uh, the shrink wrap on your machinery. So some of the machineries didn't have it, but you always have to make sure that you'd have that on your machinery because those things come in handy. If you don't have shrink wrap on your machinery, you're basically screwed. So I would always make sure to have that little stick on my vessel along with the shrink wrap. You know, and it goes there. Like there's places on your vessel where those things are supposed to be on. Yeah. So then before we drive on to where we have to go, we would do like the stretches with our managers. Our managers would tell us like, oh, today's goal is this, the percentage wise. After that, you hop onto your machinery, you drive out to where you're about to start. Some of the vessels they would have a printer on them. Unfortunately, most of these would not work. So you'd have to drive to like the nearest printer to get your shipping labels. And then you also at that point you would already have your Lydia turned on, and she will tell you like what your trip details are, basically like what to expect, like if you're gonna do a pallet that's 7 feet tall or 5 feet tall or 2 feet tall, whatever. And then she would tell you like what aisle to start on. So basically like she would say Denver, Roger, Adams. So you would start off in aisle A, and the way these aisles work is it would go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. It would go all the way to M. And the way you'd get around is you go in through A this way, and then you come from the back and go back up like this. Basically like a snake like that, like slither through the aisles. Anyways, so it's not that confusing, but in the beginning when you start off, it is quite confusing. I remember one time, like when I was still, because there's a lot of little things to like kind of memorize. In the beginning, I came out of one aisle and I went the wrong way. And one of the managers was like, Pamela, where are you going? And I'm like, and he's like, you're supposed to go this way. And I was like, oh, my bad. And there I was, beep, 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 get out of my way, I'm going the wrong way. Anyways, but he was cool about it. Like he wasn't a jerk or anything about it. So yeah, so when you start off picking, the thing that would suck is like, for example, the first aisle out of all of these rows, like the first row was where all of the heavy juices were located. And so, and I don't know why, but in the beginning of our workday, most of us always had like that aisle that we would have to pick from. So it would always be what's that word I'm looking for? It would always be like so much traffic, like just really congested. And mind you, these aisles are super narrow, so like you can't really go around each other. Like you either have to like be picking super quick or get out of the way and like try to let someone squeeze in to let them by. And then another thing too is like sometimes Lydia, the chick that would speak to you, you know, on the Talkman or whatever, she would tell you like pick 20 cases, and it's like, dang, you have all these heavy cases to pick, and you got to be quick at it, you know, because if you're slow, like you're holding people back, and then on top of that, like your productivity, because this thing keeps track of like how fast or how slow you're going. You have to keep all these things in mind. So yeah, so my first day on my own, I was stacking these juices, and I had completely forgot to put a slip sheet after my third layer. And so what's a slip sheet? Slip sheets are basically like, it's like a cardboard type of material that you want to put after each third layer of what you're stacking, just to kind of secure what you have stacked. That way things don't kind of like, they're not slippery or fall out of place, you know? So I hadn't done that, and I learned the hard way. I was turning into the next aisle, and I wasn't even turning like that sharp, nor was I going fast, but because I didn't have a slip sheet, the juices on the corner of my palette freaking fell. And it was so embarrassing. I was so embarrassed. Oh my gosh. Mind you, like I had all these order pickers, like, you know, behind me about to like make their way through, but they couldn't because like the floor was completely wet. And this is one of the things I'm super grateful and really appreciative of. the fact that like it was my first day on my own, and my coworkers like they kind of jumped off of their machineries and like went to help me clean it up. Like they grabbed buckets and mops, and there we were like cleaning up the mess. So that's something I'm really grateful for. They could have very easily just been like, oh, this girl's on her own, like it's her first day, she can figure it out. No, they helped me out, so I'm appreciative of that. So yeah, my first day I dropped pallets. I dropped my pallets on the floor. So if that happens to you, don't worry. And it happens quite often. You'd be surprised. Like even though it was my first day, even people that have been there for quite some time, like it happens. It happens when people accidentally like clip the back of your pallets or on the sides. It just sometimes you can't do anything about it. It's just it happens. But anyways, so yeah, on my second day there, I had already realized, okay, I need to make sure to have my slip sheets. So what I did, which my trainer did tell me this, which is something I am grateful for. He told me when you first go in, like to start your trip, always make sure to go in this certain area, which is where the eggs were at, to look for slip sheets, because typically there's slip sheets like scattered in there or whatever to look for. So then that day, I made sure I had enough slip sheets to use to put in between my layers, Excuse me. So there I was, moving along, and then somehow, I don't know how this happened, but my palette, it went from going like stacking like this to eventually like tilting like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is about to fall over. And even like the people around me were looking at it like, this is something funny. So people can tell when you're new there because they see the way you're building your pallets, and if they're like tilting over, they'll just kind of ride on by and be like, wow, what you know? But luckily, one of the Lyft drivers, the people that like grab the pallets to, I guess, take out like the empty slots and put in, more stuff, more product, he helped me out. And what he did was he used his machinery to kind of like push my pallet a bit. So it ended up straightening out, which really helped me out. And I'm super grateful for that too, having coworkers that were just really friendly and just wanted to help me out. And then after he kind of straightened it out, I used my shrink wrap that was on my machinery, and I like wrapped it around a couple times so it did not fall that day, but it was so close to falling. And I can't imagine how much time it would have taken to like pick everything up and try to stack it all over again. Because at that point, you guys, my pallet was already about like 7 feet high. And if you drop it that high to have to like restack everything, oh my gosh, I don't know. I probably would have quit that day. So yeah, so honestly, to be truthfully honest, like it did take me quite some time for it to click in my mind, like how to bricklayer. In the beginning, I don't know why, I just kept wanting to like column stack things, like put things on top of each other like that and like that. But you're not supposed to do that, because when you do that, like things eventually they start to get wobbly. What you want to do is bricklayer, which means like you place something here, something there, where it adds support, where things are like interlocking in a way. So it took time for that to click in my mind, and once I got that down, I was like, okay, like this stacking thing isn't really that bad, like once you get the hang of it. Unfortunately, some other like hiccups that I encountered in the beginning too were a lot of like little details that my trainer didn't really inform me of. For example, like he didn't tell me that whenever you have a pallet that's like under 2 feet tall, like you have to take it to its actual location on the shipping label, like place it right underneath like the number where it corresponds. And then other little like details too that unfortunately I had to learn through trial and error, or someone kind of just like yelling at me like, hey, that doesn't go there, or hey, that's not how you do that. And it's like, oh, well, I wasn't told, like I just didn't know. So yeah, once I got the hang of it, like I said, it wasn't too bad. And then eventually I noticed that they started having like people walk with me, like I guess to observe how I was doing my my stacking, because I still wasn't meeting my productivity. So when you get hired on, they give you like these little cards. I don't have it on here, but like they gave you like these little cards, right, that you keep on your badge, and it tells you like every week where you're supposed to be at percentage wise, like if you're supposed to be like at 75%, 80%, and eventually you're supposed to hit 100%, meaning you're being like really efficient with your stacking, and like like you're stacking quickly and you're being productive. But my goal in the beginning was like, I don't want to try to like do this quickly unless I don't have the stacking, like the way I'm supposed to. So once I had the stacking down, that's when I started like slowly trying to pick up momentum. But then I realized like, yo, sometimes Lydia has you pick a slot that has like that corresponds to like 50, sometimes 60, sometimes 70 items to pick. Yeah, one time I had to pick like 76 items of these like heavy, I think it was like butter, these boxes. And I was like, yo, how am I supposed to pick this super, 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 super quick? Mind you, too, they also want you to like call out each item individually as you're picking it. So, for example, she told me to pick 76 items. I would have to call each one as I'm picking it. So, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, until I get to 76. Like, you couldn't just say 76. You couldn't just call out the whole number because basically, that's just the way they trained us. Like, you couldn't basically do that. But it's like me calling it out one per one. That's definitely going to slow down my productivity, because I'm going to take so long to pick 76 of these things. You know what I mean? And that's another thing too that kind of really sucked is a lot of the people would cherry pick items. So sometimes when you get a slot, because the slots were either on top or on the bottom, it wasn't like at hand's reach, like right there in front of you. And that's why that little metal, like I call it a wand, comes in handy. You use that to like grab things and bring them closer to you, because otherwise, if you don't use that little thing to grab what you need to get, there are like these what is it called? It's like this, like a pillar type thing, and there is like this this cushion for you to like, and the purpose for that is for you to actually stand on it, hold on to the pillar, and like grab what you need to get. But I found that to be kind of dangerous, considering also too that a lot of the aisles in certain areas were like really slippery, especially the juice aisles. There was always some type of like spillage there, either like juice spill or a coffee creamer spill. So yeah, you're always kind of like slipping and sliding here and there. Um, Something else. What else did I want to talk about? So yeah, key is to always have slip sheets on you at all times, because if you don't have slip sheets with you, you're basically screwed for the day. Like you can't. There's no way you can stack a 7-foot pallet without any slip sheets. Like it's just things are gonna start to fall. And then what else? Yeah, honestly, I liked the job. I liked it. I did. I just found it really difficult to hit the numbers, like being being quick at it. Just because different factors I feel like really contributed to the fact that like I couldn't go fast, because like I said, the aisles were super narrow. There's lots of traffic, other order pickers trying to get through. Sometimes you'd have like another order picker in the same slot where you're trying to grab something. So then there you guys both are trying to like not get in each other's way, grabbing the things. Um, Another thing too was the like I said, the fact that you have to pick so many items within a certain amount of time. And also too, another thing that was super time consuming was the fact that like if Lydia told you to pick one slot, for example, like 30 cases of juices, and there was only like 2 cases of juices. So you would call out the 2 cases of juices that you picked, and then you'd have to zero out the rest. So the thing about that is like they would tell you to skip it and then come back to it later. But I didn't like doing that, because I'm like, yo, this is a 7-foot pallet. I'm gonna go build my pallet and then have to come back when it's already like 6 feet high and try to put these heavy boxes on top. I was like, that makes no sense. So I would call out after I'd pick out the 2 boxes like 0 for a shortage, and then I would wait. I would wait there for the Lyft driver to come replenish that slot, to bring more of the product that I needed, the more things to pick. And that too was very time consuming. So it's a lot of like little things that really do factor into like your overall being efficient and your productivity. And there are just certain things that they just wouldn't really consider, that they wouldn't consider like downtime. Like downtime would only be for certain things. So all in all, I like the job. It really is physically demanding. Um, I was experiencing a lot of like hand aching, and I wasn't even like this started happening like early on. Like I wasn't even there for like too long yet for me to like experience, I guess, like hand aches. And this would happen like on my days off. Okay, I had 4 days off. I would only work 3 days on the weekend. And on my days off at night, like my hands would just ache and my feet would just really start aching. I don't know what happened there. So yeah, it was just it's really, like I said, it's really, it takes a toll on your body. And you know, keep in mind you have to like lift heavy things. Keep in mind you're working. Well, I was working in the dairy deli, so it was cold, but that kind of, you forget about like the temperature after you're like already working because you start to get warm. But yeah, all in all, I'm just grateful that I had like really nice coworkers. Like they helped me out in the times where I was struggling, where I was a hot mess, where I couldn't stack correctly. Um, but and the job, all in all, like it paid pretty good. It was a good paying job. But from what I heard too, from being there, is a lot of people come and go, and I think it's because you have to not let it get to you mentally. Because I can see why some people would probably come and go doing that kind of job. Just because if you don't take the time to kind of actually learn how to stack, it's gonna happen where like your pallets are gonna fall over, and I can see how like that can be, and I can see why that can be kind of intimidating, or you know like it could kind of screw you in the mind, and be like, oh well, I can't do this, I'm just gonna quit, you know. So you can't like get mentally frustrated, you know, in the beginning. You just gotta like write it out because it does get easier. It really does. And then, like I said, it is a really physically straining on your body. But I'm sure too, after time, like that does kind of go away. Because there's people that have done that for like 3 5 years, and or that have been there, and like they're still order pickers. And I'm just like, dang, I don't know how you can do this for that many years. But anyways, I hope this video helped somebody out, if you're looking to work as an order filler, or if you just got hired on as an order filler. Like I said, always have slip sheets on you. Always make sure you have that wand on your vessel. Always make sure you have your what's it called? Shrink wrap. Shrink wrap on your machinery too. And then always make sure you have gloves on too, like good quality gloves, because the gloves they give you there, when I was training, they were like super thick, and I wasn't able to grab things because like the finger, like the fingers on the gloves were just like bending, so it made it impossible for me to like grab things. So I would encourage you to go out and like buy your own gloves that fit more properly on your fingers, and just yeah, you know, hope this helps. Bye.